All right, should we get started, or do you want to wait another minute or two?
It's up to you, Mr. Chair. However you wish to proceed, I think we could go ahead in the interest of time, if you want to go ahead and get that started.
Absolutely. All right, good evening, everybody. It is 6:02 on February 27th, and I would like to call the February 27th, 2024 meeting of the St. Louis County Youth Advisory Council to order. The first item on our agenda, as always, is roll call and the establishment of quorum, and I will hand that off to Mr. Dewan.
Absolutely. Please, as I read your name, please indicate that you are here by stating aye or present. Levi. Tori. Precious.
Is it
Christina. Toby.
here?
Hunter. Elizabeth. Elise. Erica.
Present.
Katie.
Present.
Mr. Chair, Preston.
Present.
Anne Marie.
Here.
Alexi.
Here.
Annika.
Present.
Eshwar.
Present.
Right. If you did not hear your name, please indicate it now or in the chat for me. Okay.
Deshaun, I joined a little late, but I'm present. It's Christina Peoples.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Peoples.
No problem.
All right. Roll call has been taken, quorum established.
All right. With quorum established, I first would like to approve the meeting minutes of the January 30th, 2024 meeting. Therefore, I mentioned to vote to approve the meeting minutes. Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor of approving the last month's meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, January 30th meeting minutes are approved. The next item on our agenda for today is introduction to what we will be doing for the remainder of our term. And that is a report that will be sent to the county executive, Sam Page, as well as the county council. For this report, we will be covering essentially the state of civic participation and voting within the youth of the county. So what we are going to do on this first step is just get people into broad groups to do a little bit of brainstorming on people we can ask questions to, things that we can look into that would give us an idea of how the county is doing in regards to fostering civic participation and voter registration and things of the like. So in general, we kind of came up with 4 broad groups, 2 of which Elizabeth Franklin will be in, and 2 of which I will be in. The 2 that Elizabeth are, the 2 groups that Elizabeth is within is general civic engagement, as well as community service. I will be heading up the voting and policy advocacy groups. So unfortunately, we do not have Elizabeth here to talk about the general direction that she would want to start off with her groups, but just as a general idea, what we'll be looking at with civic engagement is certain programs that get people into positions where they're helping people basically doing community service, volunteering, working with various community groups and the like. And that's going to be mostly concerned with like boots on the ground in the county. And that same thing kind of goes with community service. This one with community service, though, is going to be a little bit more broad. That's more so just like general volunteering, getting our youth into food shelters and serving their time in ways that help out the community at large. When it comes to the voting and policy advocacy groups, voting in particular, we're going to try our best to kind of delve into the data around voter registration of the youth here in the county, as well as their participation in voting. And hopefully we can find some resources to figure out how the county has been doing with that over the past couple of years. And then policy advocacy is kind of similar to civic engagement, but in the sense of kind of being a part of groups that bring issues to the forefront, groups that bring the issues of the youth to leaders in the community or to our representatives. And in general, with all of these, we're going to be looking for disparities that exist, where we might need programs in certain areas of the county that are underserved, accessibility concerns, and essentially just figuring out how we can best get the message out to get registered, be engaged in the government of the county, and to lend your extra time and service to the community at large. So on this, just like we did with last time in choosing groups for the first report, on a volunteer basis, we'll kind of see who wants to be in each group, and members that aren't here today we'll work with to try to get them into groups to keep things as even as possible. But we do understand that there might be one group that has 2 or 3 people more than the other, and that's okay. We just want it to be as close to even as possible. So on that point, I will open it up to people who want to volunteer themselves for any of those groups. I believe with the numbers we have, you can choose one group. Dewan, let me know if you think it would be acceptable for people to choose 2 groups, but I figured we'd go just with choosing one.
Yeah, I think it would be best to just do the one group. And one thing I would say also before we get to that piece, just to be clear to everyone, this is going to be a second report that you all are completing to be presented to the county executive as well as uh, St. Louis County Council. And just if I'm hearing this correct, just creating action steps and such that you would like to see or recommendations to get some of these things kind of moving. So again, as we stated, you know, prior, this group is strictly an advisory board, so you won't actually be, um, out, boots on the ground in the community doing certain things. You'll actually you're generating this report with the recommendations of how, hey, this should go. We think that, for example, with the voting, we think X, Y, and Z should be taking place. This is a recommendation of how this should be set up, et cetera, and so forth. Am I hearing that correct, Mr. Chair?
Precisely, yeah. This report is purely investigation and giving recommendations to the executive and the council. And at this stage right now, what we will be doing until future meetings is we're essentially just going to brainstorm. We're going to see what we can find and who would be possibly best to talk to if that's possible, and kind of get that down, pen and paper on the page. And then from there, we can come together as a group and get a direction to go in after that.
And Chair Haney, I believe because this report, and Dewan, correct me if I'm wrong, is not part of the authorizing ordinance for it, is that you would actually need to make a vote to adopt this report and the groups that you discussed.
I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but I believe you are correct in that because excuse me, so although the 6-month report was required, there is language in the ordinance that suggests you could submit as many reports as you want, but to your point, there needs to be you're saying a vote taken, correct?
Yes, absolutely, that's correct. So as Dewan stated, Chair Haney, is that the committee can make as many reports as they like. It just is an action of the committee, and therefore the committee would vote that they wanted to, the council would vote that they wanted to do this YAC Youth Civic Engagement Report.
Okay, to that point, should this be a vote that should be handled now before processing groups, or should that be done after the groups are created?
So I believe it should be done beforehand, because obviously if the council decided that they weren't going to do it, if it didn't pass, then therefore it would be moot for you to move forward with the groups.
Okay. All right, well then, to that point, I motion to vote to, for the council to accept the creation of the youth civic engagement report. Do I have a second?
And Chair Haney, I would just specify as well for the 4 different groups that you mentioned as well for the adoption of that.
Then, yeah, so I motion to vote to start the process of drafting this youth civic engagement report along with the 4 general groups of general civic engagement, voting, community service, and policy advocacy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is there any opposition? Okay, the report and groups have been approved. To this point, again, like I mentioned previously, Mac, correct me if this is incorrect, but we would be able to just volunteer for, or have members volunteer for the groups, correct?
That is correct, Chair Haney.
So then if anybody wants to go ahead and volunteer themselves, Dewan's got the list of groups as well as I do, so both of us will be taking names on that, I believe.
I'll volunteer to do community service.
So if you could, because I can't see everybody, could you state who's talking and then whatever group you choose, that would make it easier.
Yeah, it's Christina Peoples for community service.
For community service, okay.
This is
Thank-
Ishwar, and I'd also like to do community service.
Okay.
This is Toby, and I would also like to do community service.
This is Precious. I would also like to do community service.
This is Hunter. Oh, sorry.
You can go.
This is Hunter. I'd also like to do community service.
Okay.
This is Annika. Sorry.
I'm sorry. One second, and I apologize, Mr. Chair. How many did we denote per group? Or did we?
We did not work out the numbers, but off the top of my head, based on the positions that me and Ms. Franklin are in, I believe the maximum should be 4 people per group besides us.
Okay. So if that's the case, community service was filled with Precious.
And so, Dewan, just so everybody is clear of their group, can you list the 4 that are part of community engagement?
Absolutely. So for community service, we have Christina, Ajwar, Toby, and Precious. Available groups are still general civic engagement, voting, and policy advocacy.
This is Anne Marie. I would like to do voting.
Thank you.
This is Lexi Hart. I'd also like to do voting.
This is Levi Sandweiss, and I'd also like to do voting.
Okay,
This
thank
is Annika Grote, and I would also like to do voting.
Okay, all right. Let me pause here for a second. Voting is now filled. With voting, we have Anne Marie, Lexi, Levi, and Annika. Available groups are general civic engagement as well as policy advocacy.
This is Katie, and I can do general civic engagement.
Okay, thank you.
This is Hunter. I'd also like to do general civic engagement.
Okay, thank you.
This is Erica Green, and I would like to do policy advocacy.
Okay, you said Erica? That was Erica?
Yes, that was Erica.
Okay, thank you.
This is Elise Green. I'd also like to do policy advocacy.
Okay, thank you. I believe that may.
I think that might be everybody in
Yeah.
attendance.
I think that is it. I think that is it.
Okay. Then to that point, are there any general questions or concerns that any of the other members might have that should be addressed at this moment? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to our next part of the agenda, which is scheduling the date for the next meeting. Our suggested date for the next meeting is March 26th at 6 p.m. If there are any other preferred dates by any other members, please make that known now. Okay, seems like we do not have any issues. And to that point, I motion to vote to implement the suggested date of March 26th at 6 p.m. for the next meeting of the St. Louis County Youth Advisory Council. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Okay, it has been decided that the next meeting will be March 26th at 6 p.m. Next, just before we go and move to adjourn the meeting, Elizabeth and I, as well as Dewan, will get other members that are not here today into other groups. And then we will be in contact with you shortly, just to hopefully so all of us can meet and just get a general brainstorming and then go from there. And now I will motion to vote to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor to adjourn the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, the meeting today is officially adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Mac, can I ask you a question before I hop off real quick?